You're listening to Kayak Flyer with your host, Sean. Tonight, we're brought to you by Tennessee Trailers, OutdoorAdventureTrailers.com. Simply the best way to get your kayak to and from the water. Bajuco Flats Flyco. Simply the best custom-made fly rods on the market, always built to order just the way you want it. Find Bajuco Flats Flyco on Instagram and Facebook. StoneflyNets.com, made 100% in the great state of Arkansas with your choice of woods or burls. Stonefly nets can even be customized for that favorite fisher person in your life. Check out StoneflyNets.com for details. CutthroatFurledLeaders.com, the only leaders that I fish with. Cutthroat Furled Leaders are excellent for saltwater, freshwater, trout, bass, you name it, you can catch it with a Cutthroat Furled Leader. Head to CutthroatFurledLeaders.com, promo code Kayak to save 15%. You know, Adam, I really thought we were going to get Joel to recut that, so it was hosted by Sean and Adam, and then I didn't say simply the best twice in a row, but I guess the crazy Canuck backed out on us, and you guys, you have brought us some great guests. The first time on the show, we've got a full house here. This is looking good. Can you tell us who all you got?
Yeah, I'm super excited for this. So this has been a few weeks in the making now. I've had the opportunity to connect with these folks through social media. So super pumped to bring this on for tonight's guest. So a little bit different, right? We all have different backgrounds, which we'll be talking about tonight, that had to do with wildlife and artistic work and whatnot. So just go through here. I've got Kevin Onsrud, hopefully I pronounced that correct, from Casting Feathers and Fur. We have Jen Bohr from Hoot Design Studio. And we have Edward Houseman from Sketchy Wildlife. So welcome to the show, everybody.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, guys. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we talk about this thing, we're all coming from different backgrounds and things that we do, and we talked about how you can connect with people, particularly when we're all kind of confined to our own homes or our own studios or whatever the case may be. Sean and I actually connected originally in this same format before COVID. It was heard about a podcast, asked if I could hop on and just talk gibberish for me, and it's kind of sparked into this whole thing. So we're in two different locations all the time recording, so this is nothing foreign for us, I'll tell you that.
The fact that we're both on house arrest does a lot for it, too.
So this is a full disclosure program,
right,
in that case.
So again, really cool to talk to all three of you here. And so one thing that I do know, and speaking to you, Kevin, again, just through social media, is the three of you have connected through social media also. And if I understand this correctly, this is the first time that all three of you are even interacting together outside of even the podcast, right?
Right. I have been doing this for a couple of years, and I just started looking around Instagram and finding some really outstanding artists who I think deserve a lot more attention and recognition. So I thought I could reach out to them and put a group together. There are probably 10 of us in this group, and we just kind of exchange ideas or help each other, support the pages, and just really kind of embrace the positive aspects that social media can provide. And so it's been fun. And and when I started, I was a fly tyer, and I was posting pictures of that on social media and trying to up my game. And there's so many people that are willing to help. And then I had been contacted by a person who was an artist, and she wondered how I went about doing that. And I explained it all to her and tried to get her started. And then in exchange, she showed me how to do the artwork and the stickers. And so I thought I could probably do the same thing at some point, reach out and help others, kind of pay it forward. And so that's what I've been trying to do.
Yeah, Kevin's our ringleader for sure. He's he definitely is the glue of the group, and frankly, again, like Jen, I don't believe I've even talked to you. I definitely follow your social media, so it's kind of fun to put a face to a name here, and see all the cool labels you do for all the different craft beer you work on and stuff, and all the logo designs, and so yeah, Kevin, thanks for getting us together, man. And as much as we've worked together, like Kevin and I, we've collaborated a ton. We've worked on auctions, like you might have seen around the fly tying community, for Justin Aldrich, right? And some of the work there. So Kevin and I worked on a collaboration charity auction. We've done some designs together as well, and it's just really funny. It's the first time I'm hearing his voice. So the power of social media, right?
Right.
That's awesome. Yeah. Major kudos to you, Kevin, just for bringing us all together and the continued support. And it's awesome what social media can do and just unite and inspire each other, just seeing different things that everybody's working on. And just, it's encouraging. It's awesome. So it's great to finally talk to you guys and, in person, meet, but, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a new group. I mean, it's not as though we've intentionally been avoiding each other in terms of in person or video or anything else. We're just trying to get this thing started. And I think what was nice is I tried to find a diverse group of people that had different areas of expertise. Like she's a professional graphic designer, and she works with a different medium than we're used to.
A complete
Edwards,
hack.
Does a
complete
digital
hack that he needed kind of an amateur rookie, kind of fill that void there, and that's what I was able to do.
Not at all. I don't have any of Jen's stuff here, but here's one of Edward's designs.
Nice.
Just the digital aspect. I can't even begin to figure out how that works. All my stuff is done with watercolor first, so I'm old school. So I'll do the watercolor, and then I have to transfer that over to a medium that the company can use for a decal. So in a sense, I'm doing a lot more work than I probably need to, but I just want to hopefully learn from each other, not to steal ideas, but just to revel in all the different aspects that are available. And and if we can collaborate, like Edward and I have done some great stuff. I'll do the sketching, and he'll transfer it to computer and fill it in, and that's really fun too. And I'd love to figure out how Jen does her stuff.
And then get it on a beer
amazing.
can.
Yeah,
I would say that Jen is
I'm working
probably
on that next.
Yeah, Jen is probably the reason I'm an alcoholic, because I see all the cool beer cans.
I think like the beer labels now are like when we were younger, the vinyl records. I mean, I'm old enough to remember buying vinyl records, right? So that was a cool medium, and I think beer labels have kind of replaced that.
Wait, so what's a vinyl record?
There's yeah.
What is that?
I don't think we have time right now for all that. I have a stack of them in the base. It's one more passion that I have. Don't even get me started.
I would like to.
But if I could do beer labels, that would be awesome someday too.
Yeah. Oh, it's so much fun. It's just, I got a 6-pack sitting here. This one's on the fly. I don't know if you can see that one. So, not only is it fun to design it, but then to sample it, to get it in and taste what you've been working on the last, month or however long, it took you to do, to like hold that product in your hand and be like, I did this, and be able to sample it. And that's the coolest part. I think that's the most. Go ahead.
Sorry. How did you reach out to them, or how did they find you? How did that work?
This one, 1623, they're in Maryland. They found me through social media, just from different posts and other breweries that I've worked with. And they said, hey, would you like to do some labels for us? I was like, yeah, absolutely.
So do they send you a case of beer and say, drink this, get inspired to come up with a name and a logo? Or do they have a name already in mind?
Yeah, they usually have a name already in mind, depending on what kind of ale. Like this is a brown ale. So they were thinking, trout season, like fishing and just different, whatever time of year it comes out, whether it's a seasonal or, depending what they put in the mash, if it's coconut or pineapple, that usually depicts the name that they pick. Then we have like a creative brief. We brainstorm some ideas, what they're thinking the label would look like. And then I start with some pencil sketches, and yeah,
Yeah.
we go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jen, I'm wondering. So, Kevin was saying, obviously, professional graphic design artist. So, this is 100% what you do all the time, right? And is it all beer can design and partnering with breweries, or do you do other types of artwork outside of that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The craft beer industry is definitely my niche, but I've been in the graphic design, like marketing and advertising, for probably going on 17 years. So I worked at ad agencies doing print production, catalogs, postcards, logo design, branding. And I always freelanced on the side, and kind of illustration was always almost a hobby. I don't want to say like a back burner thing, but it was always something I wanted to incorporate with my graphic design, but never really got to during my day job. So I would freelance on the side, just different little projects, and the freelance started to grow, and I knew that's where my passion was, to be able to combine the illustration and the graphic design. So I started doing mock-ups, and that's how I kind of got into the beer industry. My first label was actually, I have them here, for moonshine. So I did the illustration of the cabin and the still. This was awesome to get a sample of. But I did the illustration work, and their in-house graphic designer designed the entire label. And that's what really made the light bulb go on, that, hey, I'm not just an artist. I'm also a designer. I can do the whole thing. So I started designing the whole thing and showing breweries what I could do. And, one thing led to another. And I opened Hoot Design Studio in 2019. Focusing on the craft beer industry, but I still do, everything from swag and t-shirts to logos, branding. I go wherever I'm needed. So it's fun, but definitely focused on the craft beer industry for sure, because it's really fun.
That's why we brought her on board. We need that inspiration.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. I mean, there's, you sit and you think, I mean, this is a hobby for Adam and I. We've got sponsors that, basically pay the bills for what it costs. And, it's really what your passion is about. There are guys out there are some of the world's greatest fly tires that you're only going to see on Instagram, because they've never sat down to write a book. They've never even thought, it's never crossed their mind to sit and write a book, even though their patterns and their styles are so beautiful. And those passions really carry a lot of us through, and then you've got guys like Tim, who he's working on his second book now, great fly tire, but he happened to be able to know some right people and get some things going, and super nice guy. I'm not throwing any kind of shade on him, man. He's awesome. But, there are some quality fly tires out there, and taking your passion and moving it from my 9 to 5 and moving it into what my hobby is, anybody can do that. A YouTube channel's free. I mean, there are great ways to do things.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And with social media, there's just so many aspects between Instagram, Facebook. A lot of people are doing TikTok videos now, of just quick little how-tos and stuff like that. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, Kevin, don't you have a dance for TikTok ready you were going to show us today?
Yeah, TikTok. Yeah, TikTok. Yeah, that's my next thing. Well, if I start one more social media anything, I think my wife will leave me. So this is actually, I mean, it's kind of taken on a life of its own. As I said, it does take some time, and people will reach out and say, hey, can you do this or do that? And you don't want to say no, and then before you know it, you've got little projects piling up, and then you're feeling pressured. And I don't want to have that experience. I want to enjoy what I'm doing, but yeah, TikTok would probably put me over the top.
Kevin, if you're interested, if you don't have enough to do, if you want to join the Fly Throwdown, the official Fly Throwdown, we have a word, Northern Pike Flies. All the materials are being sent by the mad scientist from Fly Tires Dungeon. Haven't gotten to talk to Tim yet, but Dan Frazier's in. You'll get him enough material to tie 4 flies. It cannot be the same fly, 4 rounds. And we're going to be having the listeners on everybody's social medias vote. So if you're interested in that after the show, I'll get your address and I'll get a package in the mail to you. So
sounds great. Do they pick the fly for you?
No,
or
you get the materials. So nobody knows what anybody's doing. You get a box of materials to make 4 flies. And if you go past round 1, you better have enough materials for round 2, and you cannot tie the same pattern twice.
That's cool.
Oh,
So,
that is
That
very
sounds
cool.
super
That's
fun.
awesome. Yeah.
yeah. So,
I agree.
Yep.
we've got professional
with Sean, and all of a sudden I'm seeing these other names show up and realizing, I mean, it's a pike fly. I'm in the state of Kansas. I trout fish for stalker in Missouri. Like, I'm already way in over my head. But give it a go.
Dude, Dan Fraser wrote the book about carp flies for Orvis. Do you think he's ever tied a pike fly? He hasn't.
Yeah.
That's what's going to
I
make
grew
it
up
so
in
much fun.
Wisconsin. Wisconsin is the muskie capital of the world, so they just, they're just getting into fly tying, and some of those things are just crazy. I don't know how they throw them, but they look awesome in the water.
12 weights.
I'd love to try
They
it.
throw them with 12 weights.
Yeah, exactly. A telephone pole.
Yeah. I'm catching
Yep.
fish on my 1 weight that weigh less than the fly we're tying.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So
That's
one
awesome.
of the
Yep,
things
I'm
that I
in.
really love about all of this and what the three of you are doing, and again, we've said social media now probably a dozen times. It'll tell you just scrolling through Instagram specifically. That's the platform I typically use the most. But going through and that's where I found a lot of my basics for tying flies. Jen, you alluded to the fact of people putting little instructional videos out there, and there's pictures and whatnot, and started seeing this entire other realm, if you will, of fishing, which is this artistic piece to it, where stickers and sticker art that all have these themes of fishing and outdoors. And it is not just this tiny little vein of the social media or this particular community. There's a large amount of people that are doing this, and that includes you all here with us on the podcast. So we've heard a little bit about from Jen, obviously, with the beer labels, and Ed, I'd love to hear from your perspective how, like Kevin alluded to it, but how you do things, kind of how you found this, and then what it looks like for you, and maybe how you discovered it and what you plan to do with it moving forward.
Yeah. So, like I said, I kind of kid, like I say, I'm a hack fly fisherman and a hack artist, because, I just kind of, I'm all self-taught, and I haven't been doing either of them very long. It's probably been now in the art scene, I've probably been at this for about a year and a half now. But I started just on a whim. One day, I was like, I saw some drawing that I was really impressed with. I think it was like a drawing of a penguin or something. And it was like in all graphite, and it just looked so real. I was like, man, I'd love to be able to do something like that. So I picked up a pencil and I did this just really crappy drawing of like a deer. And I was like, this is okay. I guess I kind of keep trying to build on that. And I've always been fascinated with wildlife. I was watching Animal Planet as a kid, and David Attenborough, and all that good stuff. And I'm originally from LA, so I've kind of been deprived of like wilderness. And it's I always tell my wife and even myself, just I was just born in the wrong place, and even at the wrong time. Like kind of an older soul, and want to be like self-sustaining now. So I'm just this city slicker kid now, trying to fit into this this niche of like trying to be more manly and go fish, go hunt, do all this stuff. And luckily my wife, I married into a family that is more that way, so I've gotten a little bit more exposure. So like my father-in-law, he's born in American Falls, Idaho, grew up there, small town, if you guys have even never heard of it. And he grew up with a fly rod in his hand and a shotgun in the other one, right? So it's been really fun to kind of see the clash of culture. And because of that, it's really inspired me to take up fly fishing. And he's the first person I ever went out with in Idaho, just on this small creek called Marsh Creek, and throwing dry flies to catch some cutthroat. And ever since then, I've just been absolutely fascinated. So I got this kind of introduction to art just on a whim, and then I've always had this fascination with wildlife, particularly wildlife that you see here in North America, kind of in your backyard in the West. And so I started just kind of improving the skills. And originally I started this Instagram, Sketchy Wildlife, like absolutely no points for originality here. I mean, I was sketching and I was sketching wildlife. I put the two together and I came up with the name, right? So Thank you. But
don't overthink it, right?
I need some help, Jen, with my branding here. But no, it stuck, and it originally just started as originally started as just a place to put my art, right? Because I didn't have anywhere. It was just like sketchbooks, and then people started liking it a little bit more, started catching a little bit more traction, and then I decided, well, I guess people like this enough. I'm going to start selling some of this and turning it into like a sticker form was kind of the cheapest way to go about it and kind of fun, and then I started doing digital prints as well. I opened up an Etsy shop, and it's kind of just snowballed. And then, as my skills improved and as I started checking out different mediums, it started kind of blowing up in a way for me, at least. I'm almost 2,000 followers on Instagram, which for me, it's just unbelievable that somebody who has no idea what they're doing and people like me enough to buy my art now. It's overwhelming for me, but yeah, so now what I do primarily is digital art, as Kevin alluded to. So I went and bought an iPad. Again, had never even owned an iPad, didn't know how to work them even, and just started going for it. And now probably about 90% of what I do is on the iPad, and just a lot of different. I try to incorporate a lot of some humor in my art, but I also love the realistic side of things, and trying to get it look as crisp and clean as you can. And some of the inspirations, I'm not sure how familiar you are with some of the artists out there in the community, but artists like Casey Underwood has been a huge inspiration for me. If you don't know him, look up his stuff. It's absolutely beautiful, very realistic. And so he was actually one of the first artists that I found and really tried to kind of make my work look like, in a sense, without obviously not trying to copy him or anything. And then as I started getting deeper into it, another artist that came up to mind is Drew LR, at Drew LR. He's super funny work, kind of tattoo-y, whimsical stuff. And so I started getting more into that and started coming up with my own designs. And so I'm here now. But where I want to take it, it's just kind of where the wind blows me. I mean, there's really no plan here. It's a fun, and exciting thing for me to do. So I love it, man. It's a passion project for sure. It's definitely a side hustle.
Yeah. We had Mike Williams. I don't know if you've ever followed him. We had him on the podcast.
Great.
Super cool guy,
super
man.
Good stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah. And just listening to him talk about how he got started, and he's a school teacher, for crying out loud. He makes more money off his art, I think, than he does school teaching.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
The art is my therapy. I teach 7th and 8th graders. I have for 32 years. So this is what I do for the escape. But
high school lit.
That's been great. And there you go. So you know what it's like. But yeah, it's just great to have those outlets.
Yeah, big fan of Mike Williams, though, by the way. Super good stuff.
Yeah, super nice guy. I mean, one of the nicest guys you'll ever talk to. You guys reach out and talk to him. Don't mention my name because he'll run away. He was on the podcast twice, and he's like, "No, I'm not going back on." Really, really great guy. But there are a lot of really good artists out there that are, and I don't know. I mean, my dad was, an artist, and my family of art teachers and artists and things like that. And I've seen a lot of different stuff. I've been to a lot of different museums. I've seen a lot of art, but I always come back to the wildlife art. And that is the one thing that I like it. I understand abstract art. I get it, but it's, Pollock's not my favorite, I want something there. I don't want still life. I want something that's going to be snappy. And, when you said sticker, I always think, and this is really an odd thing. I love tattoos. I don't have any, but I think tattoos are really cool. But if a guy can make a tattoo look like a sticker, and I've seen some of these guys with fly tattoos, and man, are they slick. And that just speaks to me. And, you guys are putting out some quality. I don't know how much you spend on Yeti cups to put your stickers on, but you guys got to be buying those by the case for Instagram.
Just peel one off and put a new one
That's
on.
been the case. We're on a budget
I'm not
here. We're
making
not
that
big,
kind of money.
we're not Mike Williams big yet. So
Yeah.
Those are just digital imprints of the stickers. They're not
I'm
actually
hoping to
put
break
on there.
even.
So
Not
it's
yet.
just in a whole nother level, right?
Well, you can put I can put it on a glass
Go.
tumbler.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
But I'm running out of places to put them.
I see kayaks now that are just covered in stickers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that was the thing. I don't know what it is about fly fishermen, and I'm sure we're not the only people who love stickers, but they are like, I mean, if they didn't start the sticker fad, they had to have been among the
It's
first
because we all
to
want
get it
people
going.
to know that we fly fish.
So,
We
and
want
that's what kind of
to
drew
ask
me
us
in.
about it.
I think that is true. I think, and then that whole community, that's a whole nother level of discussion. The fly fishing community, in my experience, because I didn't know anything about it either. I was wondered as a kid what it would be like to be able to fly fish, and everybody that I knew did, spin casting, and I waited too long to figure it out. And I regret having done that. But when you are interested, you just voice an interest, and people come out of the woodwork and help you. And so I think having a sticker is kind of like a signal that, hey, if you need any help, or if you need a comrade here on the river, I'm your guy or I'm your gal, and it's really kind of a badge of honor, but also a badge of community. Yeah.
It's the
So
Harley
maybe that's where it
Davidson
comes from.
T-shirt at the kids' soccer game.
Yeah.
You know you've got a safe spot when you see that sticker of a
Right.
fly, or a moose that's in that's colored as a brown trout. When you see those things, it's a safe place to go.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep, that's true.
It's a conversation starter. It's a nice, I have stickers all over the outside of my portfolios, my books that I take when I'm out and about, different breweries or different things. And it's like, oh, you've been there, you've done work for this. It's a good introduction to, start talking about stuff.
Yeah, it's
true.
really nice.
When we go to breweries, we grab the stickers and throw them in our cooler. We stick them on the outside of the cooler inside, so we know where we've been. So that's true. You should do that, Jen.
Yeah.
Make stickers.
Just put them all over the wall back there.
Every time I go to a brewery, I pick up a bottle opener, and the keychain bottle openers. Yeah, and I have one on every key I have has a bottle opener on it. And which is sad because I'd rather have canned beer for the environment, but I still grab a can opener or bottle opener everywhere I go. And just, those little logos on there just mean so much because I've been there. I've had that. I've done that. I was down in Chattanooga at Naked River Brewing. Man, that place was a hoot. Big shout out to those guys. They had great beers and great beer names. They had ones that was Beats, Bears, and Black Ale or something like that from The Office. I mean, they had the most insane pop culture names. A really cool place, but they didn't have a bottle opener because they don't sell bottles. And I was like, oh, I had to buy a shirt instead.
None for your collection.
Yeah, I have so many shirts and this is what's bad is my kids have beer shirts and they can't wear them to school. So in the summertime, it's nothing but beer shirts running around the house.
That's too funny.
Oh. So, Kevin, you were talking a bit about tying flies, and you said you were a little bit older when you got into the fishing game. Did you finally meet somebody? How did you get into that to make that transition? Now, Edward had his father-in-law, and he's a pretty young guy, I'm guessing. You're maybe a couple years older than me, but not much. Adam's really young. Jen looks young. When did you get into it, and was that transition?
Well, my sons are one's 24 and one's 27, if that gives you any indication. I just probably look younger than I am. But my father-in-law was a great fisherman, and he would fly us into Canada, in those beavers and otters, and drop us in for a week without seeing another person. But he only spin cast. And so I always asked him, have you ever fly fished? He said, oh, I've done it a few times. And I didn't really enjoy it, but when he moved to Florida for retirement, his next door neighbor was from New Hampshire and an avid fly tyer and fisherman. So when I heard this, I kind of hung around the neighbor's house for long enough, so where he kind of took me under his wing, and he showed me how to fly cast in the ponds around the golf courses in Florida. We caught lots of bass, and then he was getting quite a bit older and couldn't tie steadily, and so he gave me some of his stuff and said, "Hey, can you make a few?" And I think he might have done it just to get me going, just to get me started. I don't know that he really needed the flies, but he was just kind of like giving me a purpose, and he knew if he was waiting for one, I'd feel obligated to do it, and in that I'd eventually figure it out, and I did. So I don't know that he taught me so much, but he inspired me, and it was great.
Yeah, I had a college professor that took me under his wing and taught me Japanese sword fighting and fly fishing. And I'm much better at fly fishing than Japanese sword fighting.
I'm sure those cross somewhere, right?
Yeah.
The casting motion, or
right.
Yeah.
It's all about having to have inner peace. And he's a great guy. He's a Buddhist. He's a Buddhist, and he believes in calming and meditation. I saw the man have a fish get off a barbless hook one time, and he dove in the water after it. So
Whoa.
I'm, serenity now and sanity later, maybe, I don't know.
That's amazing.
But yeah, and then your father-in-law up in Idaho, you guys are catching you said cutthroats,
yeah, and
right?
I'm actually here I'm in Utah, so about 30 minutes south of Salt Lake, and so
I've been to Salt Lake.
What's that?
I've been to Salt Lake.
It's a good spot, yeah.
Yeah, really odd, but like there was like abandoned buildings, and then there was like a Lexus dealership. And I'm like,
yeah. It's a good spot, man. It's been fun. I've moved around a lot just for my real job, which is no fun to talk about. But I've been here for it's been about a year and a half now, and I love the spot I'm in right now because it's literally 30 minutes away from some of the best fishing in the state on the Provo River. If you guys have ever heard or had a chance to fish there, and
not a chance.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I was actually out there yesterday, just did a couple hours, had a really productive day. It was super fun, and so I'm here now, and just now because he's in Idaho, so I try to fish with him when I can, but right now it's really just me, just kind of trying to learn it all, and I don't tie flies. I'd love to. That's definitely the next step in my hobby, right, where I want to go and take it, but. I was just on the river, just kind of going to like the camaraderie and like just the, how people are so willing to take you under their arm. I was on the river, and it was kind of a crowded day on a Sunday, and I ran into some guys there, and he said, "Hey, I'm catching a ton of fish in this spot. I'm getting out of here. Why don't you take my spot?" Right? And so I was like, "Oh, thanks, dude." And then he started like kind of just telling me about what he was using today, and he had me open up my fly box. He's like, "Hey, this is looks pretty similar to what I'm doing. Why don't you tie that one on?" And I got out there, and I was probably out there for 2 hours, caught 8 fish or so, and just had a wonderful time. And it was all thanks to just the kindness of this one fly fisherman. And that's not the first time I've kind of had that kind of take you under my wing mentality on the river. And that's what I love about the sport, even though we don't always like to see other fly fishermen on the river, but when we do, it usually doesn't end up in like a brawl or anything. It's they're more willing to help than they aren't. Right. So it's just a great hobby.
And guys who tie flies, that because they're giving you flies to
no
use.
Kidding.
If they're tying their own, they're like, "Here, I get a half a fish for every fish that's caught on my fly." So if my buddy catches 5, I've got 2.5 plus all mine.
Yeah.
It really is a very fun and nice, and it's relaxed. I mean, you don't see a lot of fly fishermen out there that are all jazzed up. It's I don't want to say anything bad, but it's like they've all been to Colorado and then they're out on the river because they're all just really mellow guys.
Yeah.
which is really
I don't
funny.
know who said it, but my favorite line in fly fishing is that, when asked why do you fish for trout, and the answer is because trout don't live in
Yeah.
ugly places. So even a bad day in the river is still a beautiful place to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and we, living here I'm in southeast Missouri at the foothills of the Ozarks, and we have beautiful, crystal clear, spring-fed rivers. And I get on my kayak and I go 5-6 miles with the fly rod, and people are looking at me like I'm insane because, one, there's not a lot of fly fishermen for smallmouth bass in our area, and number two, there's not a lot of kayaks. Number three, there's very few guys with a kayak and a fly rod. But
And a
I've got a
Japanese
group
sword
of guys.
attached to their back too, right?
Yeah, Japanese sword, ready to go in case that cottonmouth comes out. But we've got a really great group of guys. I have a really good friend group, and we go on all these amazing kayak adventures, and we're all fly fishing, and it is so funny. And Adam and I have got to fish once together. We're gonna get to go again before too long with Travis from Arc Flyline. Guys, check out arcflyfishing.com. They are some great guys with leader, and you can still get 15% off by April 15th on Tippet using promo code kayak15. But had to throw that in there real quick because Travis is a good friend of ours. But it's amazing, the people you meet. And I know, Adam, you've had some really good experiences with this too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's always it's always a welcomed experience when you get out there and you just see the community feeling that does exist out on the water. Absolutely. I have a question for, I guess, all three of you, and Kevin, I might throw it over to you just to kick things off. We talked about the different designs and the way you go about with your sticker art and whatnot. Do you do things that are custom order pieces, or do you just find inspiration and you create them and turn them into whatever format that you wish to put the art out there? How can people come to you if they I really like the way that Kevin goes about this? Do you do things like that, or is it more of I've got a menu of things that I create and go from there?
Before you answer, Adam is saying this because he hates our logo.
we could do three of us could collaborate on something for you, maybe. I initially, in not to be vain, but I just couldn't find stickers that I liked, right? So I thought, and then I reached out to this gal that helped me, and she designed one for me, and I think she could tell right away it wasn't what I liked, although I never said that. She said, "Let me just show you how to do it." She could tell by the artistic nature of fly tying that I probably had some basic skills, and so then I just tried to design some things and then bounce them off of her for her to give me feedback, and so as a kind of a mentor-mentee relationship, and that's where it started. And some of that stuff I probably should take off my page because it was hideous now that I look back at it. But I love the growth mindset, and I've learned from others and everybody else at the same time. But what I really enjoy now is I'll create my own design and then I'll offer to put somebody's name on it. So if they're not using it for commercial purposes, I love the connection. Kind of like the fly fishing on the river. I don't get to do that very often, live in Chicago. So I'm living vicariously through the internet. So let's make a connection. So I can have their name just dropped in underneath, and then they can have 10 stickers for a reasonable cost. And then as long as they're just going to give them to friends or whatever, that's what I've been doing. And they'll shout me out, and then I can start building a following that way. But if they're going to use it for commercial purposes, then yeah, I definitely do that, but it's going to cost significantly more.
Sure. Yeah.
But as it should.
Yeah, rightfully so.
That's a lot of pressure. No, it's not a lot. It's a lot of pressure, and I know that other friends in the group just say, I don't want to do that because it's a lot of back and forth, and what you envision and they envision, and over social media, it can be kind of frustrating. Although I've had very few frustrating experiences. Edward and I have had one recently, but that was probably my first negative experience. We put together a crappie. A guy wanted an American flag on the side of it. Wasn't my thing, but hey, we're not going to ask any questions. We both did. He did the digital side. I did the the hand-drawn side, we offered them both up, and you turned them both down. So that's really the
I
first time
liked
that's
that.
ever happened. Yeah.
I saw that one and I really liked it.
Oh, hey, thanks.
So we're gonna keep it, and then we're gonna sell it. We're just gonna keep it for ourselves.
Yeah.
So, and they've got some
I
options.
really,
Like they
really
can take
liked
the
that one.
design. Yeah, they can take the design and keep it themselves. Eric's hooks out of Denmark, I did 2 for them, and they've not seen the light of day yet. So they put together a package and reached out last year, and they wanted to have artists from around the world do a sticker pack. And I just reached out the other day and said, "Hey, how's it going with this sticker pack thing?" And he said, "We're working on it." So I don't know if they were just being nice and they tossed my designs, but they paid me for them. But I'm hoping someday that I'll see those, because they are great people to work with, and it's been fun to reach out internationally too. So I've been probably working with people, both private and corporations, in 10 different countries, which wouldn't be
That was
possible
going to
without
be
social
one
media.
of my questions.
But I'm just
for all
literally
three of
breaking
you.
even. I'm not making money.
Yeah, no,
Well, we know a guy.
Yeah.
If you want us to put something in, we know a guy from there. Who's in with them. So if you need a word, let us know. We
Yeah,
can make
well,
that happen. Ben Tutt, that's all on
yeah.
you.
He's got the
So
2 designs, so they're very nice people to work with. They're just very busy. They got a lot of projects going on, but that was very exciting for me as an amateur to get that, to have them reach out to me.
Mentioning Ben Tutt, Stupid Simple Fly Tying on Facebook. If you're not a member of that, check it out. Those guys are 30,000 people, awesome group. Want to get your stuff out, and they are great. Great folks. And they had a big Christmas giveaway, and AREX was a big part of that. So those guys are in there too. So I'm sure that, whatever you've got, you can share with those guys. It'd be awesome. So,
Yep.
who do you want to go next?
Yeah, well, I was going to go over to Jen. I'm curious, and Kevin alluded to this about obviously having a little bit of an international exchange, if you will, with some of the other companies. So how about for you? How does that work in your line of business? And we talked about social media obviously being a big part of that, but are you working with things that are just here in the States? Have you had anything outside of that? Or maybe talk me through a little bit of how that works and other things.
They don't drink beer outside of the United States. Come on.
I've had one outside of the United States, Abu Dhabi. There's a new craft beer niche that kind of started, I think, at the airport, because there isn't craft beer in that area. So he launched, like 2 or 3 different flavors, and he was looking for a camel illustration for the can. So I said, "Oh yeah, definitely." So
That's right.
That's my only one that's international. But I'm here in the East Coast in Pennsylvania, so I have a couple breweries I work for in PA and Maryland, but out on the West Coast, out in Reno, Nevada, California. I've been up in Connecticut. So yeah, just with social media, it's just wild how it's not just your little local network. It's anywhere that anybody can find you that likes your style. And so yeah, it's like I said before, I go wherever I'm needed, wherever I can draw. And like, it's just not craft beer. I'm actually working on some packaging for coffee for Washington. So that's really fun, putting some illustrations on their labels, and doing a couple things out in New Jersey for hot sauce. So that's really fun. Some new
I think Adam can testify that Missouri is a hot spot for small breweries.
Oh, yeah.
Missouri and Arkansas are just popping like crazy. So if you target ads to anybody, look at those 2 states, because they are really happening. I know my buddy Terry and we have STD beer, which is Sean and Terry's delicious beer. For some reason, nobody wants to drink it.
Terrible idea.
The name.
Nobody wants a can of STD. I can't figure it out.
Some of these names are. Well, I did do one in Colorado called Freaky Fish. So I got to get really creative with that fish. Little hops there on his little angler, and the custom lettering.
Oh,
So
that's
the
awesome.
names, you never know what the names are gonna, from, well, smallmouth, we're doing one for largemouth right now, but those are pretty traditional. But yeah, I've had some very interesting names. I'm like, I'm not sure what that illustration is supposed to look like.
Right.
Like, how would you illustrate STD? I don't know what graphic I would come up with.
Yeah, I don't think I could put that on my page.
I think you need to run with it, man. It'll spread like wildfire.
No, I'm strictly a family operation. I promise that.
There's definitely some things that aren't portfolio pieces that you won't see on Instagram, but if they pay me to do it, I'll draw it.
Do those letters stand for something other than Sean and Terry's delicious beer? I'm
I don't
lost
know.
on
We're
this
going
one.
to
I don't
educate
know,
you after the
guys.
show, Sean. Educate you after the show. Talk a little bit
Okay.
about marketing too.
All right.
Yeah. We'll table that.
Yeah.
We should have
Knowing your audience.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
All right, well, Ed, how about you, man? Like, I mean, you gave us a little bit of your background to how you got into this whole thing. So, what do you do? Custom, one-off orders as well, or is it kind of like here's what I offer? You can pick and choose, and you go from there.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of both. I mean, I've created, some of my stuff is like I said, I like to be a little more whimsical. If you guys don't get the reference, I don't blame you. You're probably not a nerd like me, but like, fly you fools, Gandalf, right? Like, or just silly stuff. Like here, this says Rippin' Lipton, right? So it's for the sipping trout out there. So it's a lot of that stuff, just like stupid ideas that come to my head, and I just want to, kind of get them out there and make my own thing. So a lot of my work is original, right? But with that said, a lot of people will ask to like license it. So for instance, I've worked with some of the subscription boxes, which Kevin kind of helped me. He gave me the idea on that. So, if you might be familiar with like Post Fly or the Fly Crate, those different subscription boxes, and they'll see stuff like this one's coming out soon on with one of them. They'll license that. But then I also get some folks who are looking for completely original work for, whatever their means are, whether they want to put it on their merchandise, or right now I'm working, it's probably one of my biggest commissions I've done with it's actually my first international one too. It's with a Belgian, or I'm sorry, not Belgian. He's Danish, a Danish food photographer who photographs, fish dishes. And so he's putting together a cookbook right now. And he reached out to me and he's like, hey, I really like your style. He pointed to one of my posts. He's like, I'd love to see this style in my book. And so, I've been working on, it's somewhere around 15 illustrations for this book. And I'm just about done with it. So, so it's pretty exciting stuff. Again, just being an amateur, I mean, this stuff, I just eat it up, right? It's super exciting. It's all new to me. So, and Kevin and I have talked a ton about, if someone reaches out, like trying to figure out what your price will be as an amateur. Jen, you probably got this locked down. Maybe we need to talk to you more, but, trying to figure out what your price is, and, again, being the hack that I am, it's kind of, there's almost this like imposter syndrome, right? Of where it's like, at this point I'm willing to accept that, my work is okay, right? It's okay work. And so like, I can feel a little bit more confident charging for it. But, just like Kevin mentioned, we ran into, this one incident, and, it kind of blew up. I don't know if it blew up in our face or his face, but it didn't end up super well. Maybe we were asking too much, or I don't know. So or maybe he was being too cheap. We don't know. So it's kind of funny, but yeah. So to answer your question, it's a little bit of both, right? The custom work and the original stuff that gets licensed out.
Yeah. Well, you all downplay the fact that you downplay your level of artistic work. I'll just tell you that, because you talk like your artwork like I draw stick figures. So I think that you all need to just take a step back, right? Like all of the work that you do is unique to your own, and it's all fantastic. So, before we wrap up this whole thing, I want to make sure that you let everybody know where they can find your work or follow you on social media. Because it's really important to us that you get to put that out there and showcase your work, because it's all fantastic in its own unique way, which is what I think is really cool. And Kevin, we talked a little bit about this artistic group, and that's how the three of you have kind of come together, if you will. So I'm curious to know a little bit more about that. You alluded to the fact that it's a place for you to bounce ideas off of one another, and I think you said there's around 10 of you. So is there any other direction you want to go with that? Are you adding additional people in, or is it kind of like you have to vet them at the door? What does that look like in terms of how you want to build that group and the support system?
Well, in a sense, I kind of modeled it after a classic Instagram engagement group, right? So those Instagram engagement groups are people who agree to support each other, like each other. But the problem with those is you don't necessarily know who the person is and or what their niche might be. So, I get tired of looking at people's makeup posts or the 63rd post of themselves, whereas I wanted to be connected with people that are interested in things that I'm interested in. So that was kind of my thought, but at the same time, I wanted to make it varied enough so that we could all learn from each other, and then just agree to support each other moving forward. And some of us are more active than others, and some are kind of holding back, but it just started, so I'm hoping that it'll grow. I think moving forward, if we're going to add anybody else, we'll vet it with the group, because it can be a little bit hard to manage. I mean, 10 people right now, and we don't post very often or talk very often, but you want to keep it manageable so it's a truly supportive group. I mean, we have some fish biologists who are incredible people who can just literally reproduce a fish. It looks like the fish could jump off the page. And then they've got people like me that, just more of a, like Edwards had more of a whimsical aspect. So I try to find people that had a variety of different things to offer the group.
Yeah, I fully understand having to vet people. Yeah, vetting people is very important. Otherwise, you wind up with Adam.
Right. This is the end product. Yeah.
Love you, Adam. You're the best.
Yeah. That and STD beer.
Well, Sean alluded to.
You gotta
if it's any help to the group.
Yeah. Who's vetting who at this point? Yeah.
I think I'm a pretty good judge of character, but I don't know. So I think we probably should leave it at 10 people in the group for right now. I might have pushed my luck because there's some great people right now in this group. We probably should leave it at that.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, that's too good. Cool. Well, I'm going through like all the things that I wanted to talk about and whatnot. We've answered a ton of the extra questions that I had. So we're getting closer here to the end. We're not quite there, but Sean, yeah, go for it, man.
You forgot to ask Jen if she needed our mailing address for free beers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. This way.
One pays for all shipping.
Let's
been busy
just let her know.
Yeah.
Let's plug all the socials for everybody, and we'll just go how I see on my screen. We'll start with Jen, then we'll go to Edward, and then we'll go to Kevin. Is that all right?
Sounds good. Yeah. Hoot Design Studio. So I'm on Instagram mainly, posting a lot of, process videos, photos. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all under Hoot Design Studio. So combining the art of graphic design and illustration.
Yep, and my handle is at Sketchy Wildlife, and it's spelled just the way it sounds. And I'm exclusively on Instagram. I haven't ventured out to Facebook or TikTok yet, but I also have an Etsy store, which is just called the Sketchy Wildlife Store. Again, very creative marketing here. My genius marketing brain at work. But yeah, those are the two places you can find me. Reach out on Instagram. I love making connections. It's what led me here to this podcast, and just want to say thanks to both you, Sean and Adam, for having me on. This has been a blast and super fun. And again, it's just a great opportunity to get some faces to the names.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Kevin?
Agreed. Thank you. It's been fun. Uh, my handle and Instagram is Casting Feathers and Fur. So casting feathers and fur. So if you imagine a fly with feathers and fur on it, you're casting it. That was my thought process because initially it was a fly tying page. I haven't started an Etsy store yet. Edward's trying to get me to do that, and if I do, it'll be linked to my Instagram bio.
Adam, go ahead and drop your Etsy store and your Instagram because we all know you're a great fly tyer. Yeah. And
yeah, so I'm on Etsy as well. So just at Latrell's Fly Shop. Same thing for my Instagram handle. It's at Latrell's Fly Shop. We just do custom orders, nothing too crazy. The page just has a few limited things out there, but we're always adding to it or happy to do specific things if you want them. So I originally started it, for those that don't know, with my oldest daughter. She really got excited about tying flies and fly fishing. So she and I kind of ventured into that together. So it's pretty fun to kind of do that and kind of show her the ropes. While I was learning too, I've only been tying for just a handful of years and also fly fishing for a handful of years. So it's pretty cool to do that. And my other two kiddos, they're younger. They're now 5 and 7. They're starting to kind of like watch and see what we're doing, which is kind of cool. They want to get out there and hop on the vise or even, twist a little bit of thread on there. And they think it's pretty cool. So it's fun.
Man, that's awesome. I have I know I look young, but I actually have 3 kids, and they're all young, really young kids. I know, right? So I got a 4-year-old. He's almost 5, a 3-year-old, and then a 9-month-old now. Jeez, and man, I'll have to reach out to you, Adam, because I'm super serious on like I want to get my kids out there, and start getting them on the fly and getting out in the river. But it's just how does one it's the blind leading the blind, right? So any tips there would be great. So I'll probably reach out to you soon.
Oh man, yeah, reach out. I don't know how many tips I have. I mean, I've got a lot of gray hair to show for all of this, but I'll tell you, in the midst of like those family weekend outings or whatnot, where you're like, why did I do this? I can't. Why in the world did I think bringing 3 kids to the water by myself was so smart? And then you get back home, you're like, that was a lot of fun. Let's do that again next weekend.
Yeah, it's like childbirth. You forget the pain.
Right.
Is what they say. You forget. I don't know. I haven't had a child, but I'm saying. No, this is now that we're talking about kids. This is funny. My daughter now has a boyfriend. Oof. All right, and so he came to the house, and we had the dad talk where I showed him all my targets and all the dead animals on my walls. And their first date, they went fishing. I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. They went fishing. So I said, do you fly fish? He goes, no, but I think it would be fun. I said, do you tie flies? He goes, no, but I'd like to learn. I said, well, I've got an order for 48 of them down here. Call your mom and dad, say you're going to be here for a while, and we're going to go through this. And that's how your daughter felt, Adam, when I ordered that Christmas package a couple of years ago with like nearly 120 flies for Christmas. And your daughter's sitting down there, Dad, can I go to bed yet? You're cracking the whip. No, tie another.
That's right.
Adam is the Nike of fly tying. He's got the child labor in full effect.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This has been a blast, everybody. Yeah, I appreciate everybody's time. It's really cool to hear just a different niche of not only fly fishing and outdoors, but also something that Sean and I really enjoy is drinking beer too. So this just kind of brought it all together. So I appreciate everybody's time. I really do. It's been a blast. So Sean, I'm going to throw it over to you, buddy. You want to take us on out of here?
Hey, you know what, guys? We'll do this. Go over and leave a comment because we're trying to get our YouTube up a little bit. And I know a lot of you listen to the podcast and we appreciate it. But hey, even if you listen to the audio, go over to the YouTube and it's, the Kayak Flyer YouTube and leave a comment underneath here about what art you're most excited about. And we'll pick a random winner to get a cutthroat furled leader and I will mail that to you ASAP. So head over to the Kayak Flyer. Also, always, we ask you to like and subscribe. to our Instagram, Kayak Flyer. Like and subscribe to our Facebook, Kayak Flyer. Like and subscribe to our YouTube, Kayak Flyer. You can email us at kayakflyerpodcast@gmail.com. Tell us about one of the guests you like, and I'll tell you what, go ahead and do that. Email us about one guest you really enjoyed and why, or one guest you really want. We'll give away 2 leaders this week, guys. How about that? I'd like to thank everybody that was with us tonight. This is a really, really fun discussion. I'm amazed. I got, when Adam told me you guys were coming on, I started looking you guys up, and I have to say that crappie fish or crappie fish, I don't know, depending on how far south you are, the name changes. But man, that was a pretty logo, our sticker. I really like that.
We'll send you some stuff. Send you some stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate it, guys. And you guys take care. We'll talk to you all next week.